Captain Jun Kim sat in his command chair on the bridge of the UES Defender. His eyes were fixed on the large screen in front of him. A strange ship had just appeared at the edge of the solar system. It was huge, at least 3 times bigger than any human ship. "Status report," he said, his voice steady despite his racing heart. "Unknown vessel holding position near Neptune's orbit." "Sir," said Officer Tai, the young woman at the sensor station. "No weapons activated. They're just waiting." June nodded. Humanity had only started traveling between stars 10 years ago. They had built colonies on 3 planets outside the solar system, but had never met aliens before. This was first contact, and it was happening during his watch. "Send the greeting message on all frequencies," he ordered. Earth had prepared for this day. Scientists and leaders had created a message of peace that used math and simple images to show they wanted to talk, not fight. For 20 minutes, nothing happened. Then, Officer Tai straightened in her seat. "Captain," they're responding. It's in Korean." June blinked in surprise. How is that possible? The voice that came through the speakers was smooth and musical. "Greetings, people of Earth. We are the Avrilian Conclave. We have studied your transmissions for many years. We come in peace and urgent need." 3 hours later, June's shuttle docked with a massive alien ship. Admiral Hannah Park, Earth's highest-ranking space officer, stood next to him. Her face showed no emotion, but her hand rested near her sidearm. "Remember," she whispered, "trust but verify. This could still be a trick." The airlock opened, revealing a tall corridor lit with soft blue light. At the end stood a being unlike anything June had ever seen. It was shaped roughly like a human but taller and thinner. Its skin glowed with a gentle blue light that shifted and pulsed. It had no hair, and its 4 eyes blinked in pairs. "I am Thal," the alien said, its mouth not moving. The words seemed to form directly in June's mind. "Thank you for agreeing to meet me." Hannah stepped forward. "I am Admiral Park of the United Earth Defense Force. This is Captain Kim. Why have you come to our system?" Thal gestured with long, 6-fingered hands. "Please follow me. It is better to show you." They walked into a large round room with a ceiling that seemed to display the galaxy itself. In the center was a table with chairs designed for humans. "You've studied us well," Jun noted. "We have monitored your broadcasts for 50 of your years," Thal replied. "We needed to understand who you were before making contact." "And what did you learn?" Hannah asked, her voice sharp. "That you are young as a space-faring species, that you fought many wars among yourselves, but have found peace, that you are adaptable and creative in ways my people are not." Thal touched the table, and a 3D map of the galaxy appeared above it. "And that you may be the galaxy's last hope against the Void Scourge." Several areas of the map turned black, like ink spreading through water. "The Void Scourge is consuming worlds," Thal explained. "They are not like us or you. They do not communicate or negotiate. They simply consume all life and resources, then move to the next world." "Why come to us?" June asked. "Surely there are older, more advanced species who could help." "There are 12 spacefaring civilizations in this part of the galaxy," Thal said. 9 have joined our coalition, but we are all peaceful species. We developed space travel to explore and learn, not to fight. The Void Scourge is the first enemy we have faced." "And the other 3 species?" Hannah asked. 2 have already fallen to the Scourge, and then there is humanity." Thal's inner light pulsed faster. "You are unique. You understand conflict. You plan for it. Your ships are built for both exploration and defense. None of us designed our vessels this way." June and Hannah exchanged looks. Humans had always feared they might meet hostile aliens, so even their science vessels carried weapons. "What exactly are you asking of us?" Hannah said. "Join our coalition. Help us fight. Teach us how to defend ourselves." Thal's voice in their minds sounded almost sad. Without help, The scourge will reach your worlds within 5 years. 2 days later, Jum was introducing Thal to the United Earth Council on Sol Station, Earth's largest space platform. The council members looked both fascinated and suspicious as Thal explained the situation again. Defense Minister Sunli, an older man with gray hair and a stern face, stood up. "This is not humanity's war. We have only just reached the stars. Our fleet is small. We need it to protect our own colonies." "With respect, Minister," Jum said, "if what Thal says is true, this will become our war whether we choose it or not." "Captain Kim is correct," Thal said. "The scourge does not bypass worlds. It consumes everything in its path." The debate continued for hours. Some council members wanted to help right away. Others thought it might be a trick to weaken Earth's defenses. Then alarms blared throughout the station. "Emergency alert. Unknown vessel detected near lunar orbit," a voice announced over the speakers. On the main screen, a strange ship appeared. It was black and spiky, shaped like nothing humans had designed. It moved erratically, almost like an insect. "Scourge scout ship," Thal whispered, light dimming with fear. "They found you sooner than we expected." The Earth defense ships moved to intercept, firing warning shots. The Scourge vessel ignored them and continued scanning Earth. When the defense ships fired directly at it, their weapons seemed to do little damage. June watched in horror as 2 Earth ships were destroyed in seconds. "Our weapons aren't working," Hannah said, her voice tight. "It's like it adapted to our attack pattern immediately." Something clicked in June's mind. He grabbed the communication terminal. "This is Captain Kim to all ships. Stop using standard attack formations. I want random approach vectors. And use the moon's gravity to accelerate missiles, coming at the target from multiple directions at once." The Earth ships broke formation, attacking from all sides in an unpredictable pattern. Missiles swung around the moon, using its gravity to gain speed. For a moment, the Scourge ship seemed confused. It tried to track multiple threats coming from different directions. Then 3 missiles hit it simultaneously. The ship exploded in a flash of green fire. The room was silent. Then Minister Lee turned to Thal. "It adapted to our standard attack, but couldn't handle unpredictable tactics." "Yes," Thal said. "The Scourge learns quickly but struggles with randomness and creativity. This is why we need humans. Your minds work differently than ours. You see patterns but also know how to break them." Hannah looked at the screen where debris from the Scourge ship floated in space. "That was just a scout." "Yes," Thal confirmed. "Their main ships are much larger and more powerful, hundreds of times more dangerous." June felt the weight of the moment. "And how long until more arrive?" "Now that the scout has found you. Months, perhaps. They will come, Captain Kim. They always come." Minister Lee straightened his uniform. "It seems we have no choice but to consider your proposal seriously. The Earth Defense Fleet will need to prepare." "There is something else you should know," Thal said, its light pulsing slowly. "The Scourge doesn't just consume worlds. It learns from each civilization it destroys. It takes their technology and adapts it. With each victory, it gets stronger." June felt a chill. "How many worlds has it taken?" 27 in the last 50 years, Thal replied. "Unless we stop them, Earth will be 28. Hannah's voice was firm when she spoke. "We'll need to see everything you have on the Scourge. Their ships, weapons, tactics, everything." Thal nodded. "Of course." As the emergency meeting continued, Jum stared at the screen showing the remains of the Scourge ship. His mind was already working, thinking of unconventional tactics that might work against such an enemy. "We'll need a new approach to fighting," he said quietly. "Something they've never seen before." Thal turned its glowing face toward him. "That, Captain Kim, is exactly why we came to humanity first." Outside, the stars shone peacefully. But June knew that somewhere out there, in the darkness between those stars, something terrible was coming. and humanity would need to become the shield that stood between that darkness and all the living worlds of the galaxy. 1 month after the Scourge scout ship attack, the United Earth Council met again. The large meeting room was filled with tension. At the front, a star map showed both human colonies and alien worlds. Admiral Hannah Park stood before the council members. Her uniform was crisp, her posture perfect, but there were dark circles under her eyes from too many sleepless nights. "We need to join the Galactic Defense Coalition," she said firmly, "and we need to commit at least 30% of our fleet to protect not just our worlds, but our allies' planets too." Defense Minister Sun Lee frowned. 30%. That's 60 ships, Admiral. Our colonies already need protection. Captain Jum Kim, now promoted to fleet commander, stepped forward. In the past month, he had spent every day working with Thal and learning about the Scourge. What he learned had given him nightmares. "Minister, I've seen records of what the Void Scourge does to planets," he said quietly. "They don't just kill people. They'd break down all matter on a world and absorb it. Nothing is left, not even dust." He paused to let that sink in. "If we don't stand together with other species, we will all fall separately." Minister Lee still looked unconvinced. "And what guarantees do we have that these aliens will protect our worlds as well?" From the back of the room, a young officer stood up. Lieutenant Da-Yun was only 28, but he had become Earth's top expert on Scourge movement patterns. His keen mind saw connections others missed. "May I speak?" he asked. Admiral Park nodded. "Go ahead, Lieutenant." Day walked to the front of the room. He touched the star map, and it zoomed out to show more of the galaxy. "I've analyzed the Scourge attack patterns across all of known space," he explained. "They're methodical. They move system by system, like they're eating their way through the galaxy." He drew a line on the map. "If we create a unified defense line here, we can protect 17 worlds, including our outer colonies." He highlighted several star systems. "These are the likely next targets. 3 are human colonies. 4 are Avrillian worlds. The rest belong to other coalition species." "And if we only defend our own worlds?" asked a council member. Day's face was grim. "Then we fight alone when they reach us, and we lose." The room was silent. Then Minister Lee spoke again. "What do the other species bring to this alliance? If we're providing ships and tactics, what do they offer?" Admiral Park smiled slightly. "Technology, Minister. The Avrillians have energy shields far beyond our own. The Telseri can detect ships from twice the distance we can. The Novan understand material science that would take us a century to develop on our own." She straightened her shoulders. "Together, we're stronger than any of us are alone." The vote was close. But in the end, Earth committed 30% of its fleet to the coalition. 3 weeks later, Commander Jin Kang stood in a large hangar bay on Seoul Station. Around her, human engineers worked alongside blue-glowing Avrillians and small, 6-armed Telseri. They were trying to make human weapon systems work with alien technology. "This shouldn't work," Jin muttered as she calibrated a missile guidance system to interface with an Avrillian energy shield projector. "But it does." The idea was simple but brilliant. Human missiles were fast and deadly, but easily stopped by Scourge defenses. Avrillian shields were strong but couldn't be used offensively. Jin's team had found a way to put shield generators on missiles. The shields would keep the missiles safe until they reached their targets. Across the hangar, Thal watched with fascination. "Your people solve problems in ways we never consider," the alien told Jin. "We would have spent years trying to make our shields stronger. You simply found a new use for them." Jin shrugged. "Humans adapt. It's what we do." A voice came over the station speakers. "Commander Kang, please report to Training Bay 4. Fleet exercise begins in 30 minutes." Jin sighed. Duty calls. In the vast emptiness of space beyond Jupiter, 50 ships moved in formation. 20 were human vessels, sleek and angular. 30 were alien ships of various designs. Some were round like discs. Others looked like giant crystals or long, tube-like structures. On the bridge of the UES Dauntless, Fleet Commander Jum Kim watched the exercise with critical eyes. "They're still too rigid," he said to Lieutenant Da Yoon, who now served as his tactical officer. "The alien ships keep falling back into predictable patterns." Day nodded. "Their cultures value order and harmony. Randomness feels wrong to them." Jum tapped his communication panel. "All ships, break formation. Combat Scenario 3 begins now." On the main screen, red dots appeared. They represented Scourge vessels in a simulated attack. The human ships immediately broke into small groups, moving in unpredictable patterns. The alien vessels tried to follow but kept drifting back into their standard formations. After 10 minutes, Jum called a halt to the exercise. Simulation results: 40% of coalition forces destroyed. 60% of Scourge forces destroyed. Not good enough. He opened a channel to all ships. "Coalition commanders, please join me on the Dauntless for a tactical review." An hour later, 12 alien commanders sat around a table with Jun and his officers. Some looked frustrated, others confused. "We followed your battle plan," said Kreth, a crystalline being who commanded the Tulsari ships. "Why did we fail?" "Because the Scourge learns from patterns," Dad explained gently. "Your ships kept falling back into the same formations you've used for generations." "It is how we were taught," said another commander, a tall, willowy being named Ilara. "Order brings victory." "Not against the Scourge," Jun said. "They analyze patterns and adapt. As soon as they see your formation, they know how to counter it." "What would you have us do?" asked Kreth. "Fight with no plan. That is chaos." Jun smiled. "Not no plan. A flexible plan. One that the enemy cannot predict, because even we don't know exactly what we'll do until the moment comes." The alien commanders looked doubtful. Day stepped in. "Let me show you something." He brought up footage from Earth's history. "These are ancient human battles. See how this army pretended to retreat, drawing the enemy into a trap. Or how this navy split its forces to attack from multiple sides. These are the tactics we need to use." Slowly, the alien commanders began to understand. "Our advantage is that humans don't even follow our own patterns," Dad told them. "We improvise. We adapt during battle." "This goes against all our training," Ilara said. "I know," Jun replied kindly, "but it may be the only way to survive." As the combined fleet continued training, reports came in from the edges of Coalition space. The Scourge was on the move again. 3 systems had gone dark. They were getting closer. In her lab on Sol Station, Commander Jin Kang worked day and night on new weapons. Her team had successfully merged human offensive systems with alien defensive technology. Now they were working on something even more important: a way to disrupt the Scourge's hive mind communication. "If we can break their connection, even for a few minutes," she explained to Admiral Park, "they won't be able to adapt as quickly to our tactics." Admiral Park nodded. "How close are you?" "We need more data," Jin admitted. "We need to capture part of a Scourge ship to study their communication systems." "That's dangerous," Park warned. "Yes, but necessary. Without it, we're just guessing." Admiral Park was silent for a moment. Then she nodded. "I'll authorize a mission. Small team, fast ship. Get in, get a sample, get out." As Jin returned to her work, she felt the weight of responsibility on her shoulders. Billions of lives, human and alien, might depend on what her team discovered. Outside her lab window, Earth glowed blue and peaceful. Jin wondered how many other worlds looked like this before the Scourge came, and how many would remain if humanity failed to stop them. In 2 weeks, the first joint human-alien combat mission would launch. Their target: a small Scourge patrol near the edge of Coalition space. Their goal: capture part of a Scourge ship and bring it back for study. The real war was about to begin. The mission to capture Scourge technology was both a success and a failure. The small team led by Commander Jin Kang managed to get a piece of a Scourge ship, but they lost 2 vessels and 15 good people in the process. Jin stared at the black, oddly shaped object in her lab. It seemed to absorb light rather than reflect it. 3 weeks of tests had revealed disturbing facts. It's partly organic, she explained to Fleet Commander Jung Kim and Admiral Hannah Park. The Scourge ships are grown, not built, and they can heal themselves. That explains why they're so hard to destroy, Jun said. Jin nodded. But there's more. Look at this. She showed them a scan of the inside of the object. See these structures? They're similar to our communication systems, but they've also got parts that look like Avrilian tech and Telsuri designs. Admiral Park's face darkened. They're stealing technology from the species they destroy. Exactly, Jin said. They're not just consuming worlds. They're learning, evolving. With each civilization they absorb, they get smarter and stronger. A heavy silence fell over the room. Finally, Jun spoke. Have you learned anything that can help us fight them? Jin smiled slightly. Yes, their ships communicate through a hive mind. It's like they're all parts of one big organism. If we can disrupt that communication, they won't be able to adapt as quickly to our tactics. Can you build something that will do that? Admiral Park asked. I think so, but it would need to be deployed very close to their command ship, almost touching it. Jun and the Admiral exchanged looks. That would be a suicide mission. Work on it, Park ordered. We may need it sooner than we think. The first real test came 3 months later at the Tarsus star system. Tarsus had 3 inhabited planets with a total population of 4 billion. 2 were alien worlds. 1 was a small human mining colony. The coalition had placed a defense fleet there after Lieutenant Da Yun predicted it would be a likely target. He was right. On the bridge of the UES Dauntless, Jun watched as 50 Scourge ships appeared at the edge of the system. They're bigger than the reports described, Daz said from his tactical station. They must have absorbed more resources recently. Jun opened a channel to all coalition ships. This is Fleet Commander Kim. All vessels form up according to Plan Delta. Human ships break into the 5 strike groups we discussed. The coalition fleet consisted of 20 human ships and 30 alien vessels. As ordered, the human ships split into 5 small groups, while the alien ships formed a defensive line in front of the inhabited planets. For a few minutes, nothing happened. The Scourge fleet seemed to be studying them. Then it began to move forward. They're splitting up, Day reported, matching our formation. 5 groups moving to intercept our strike teams. Jun smiled grimly. They're learning from our patterns, just as we expected. He opened a channel to a specific ship. Admiral Park, they've taken the bait. Execute Phoenix Protocol. From behind the system's gas giant, 10 more human ships suddenly appeared. Led by Admiral Park's flagship, they charged toward the exposed flank of the Scourge fleet. The battle that followed was chaos. Scourge ships fired strange energy weapons that seemed to eat through shields. Coalition vessels responded with everything they had. Human missiles with Avrilian shields broke through Scourge defenses. Telsuri detection systems helped target the weak points of enemy ships. 6 hours into the battle, the Dauntless took a direct hit. The bridge shook violently. Sparks flew from damaged consoles. Shields down to 20%, reported Officer Tai, who had followed Jun from his previous ship. Her face was streaked with blood from a cut on her forehead. Keep us in the fight, Jun ordered. What's the status of the Scourge fleet? 12 destroyed, 20 damaged. But they're adapting to our tactics, Daz said. Their ships are changing shape, reinforcing the areas we've been targeting. Jun watched the battle on his screen. The coalition was fighting well, but the Scourge's ability to adapt was making things harder with each passing hour. We need to end this soon, he said. Signal all human ships. Execute thunderstorm pattern. Across the battlefield, human ships suddenly changed tactics. Instead of focusing fire on Scourge weak points, they began firing at random parts of the enemy vessels. The unpredictable attack confused the Scourge ships, which had been reinforcing specific areas. "It's working," Dai said, excitement in his voice. "They can't adapt to random attacks fast enough." 17 hours after the battle began, the last Scourge ship exploded in a flash of green fire. The coalition had won, but at a cost. 3 human ships were destroyed. 7 more, including the Dauntless, were badly damaged. The alien vessels had fared better thanks to their superior shields, but even they had taken losses. As repair crews worked, Jun sent a message to all coalition worlds. "Tarsus is safe. The Scourge has been defeated here." News of the victory spread quickly. For the first time, the Void Scourge had been stopped. Hope began to grow throughout coalition space. 2 months after the Battle of Tarsus, Admiral Park stood before a room full of alien officers on the Avrillian homeworld. She had established training academies on 4 coalition planets where human officers taught alien crews to think unpredictably. "The goal isn't to make you fight like humans," she told her first class of alien cadets. "It's to help you find your own species' unique approach to warfare." The aliens were beginning to understand. The rigid, orderly tactics they had relied on for generations wouldn't work against the Scourge. They needed to embrace chaos, unpredictability, and creativity. On another planet, Commander Jin Kang worked with Tulsari scientists to develop the disruption device she had proposed. The prototype was the size of a small car. "It needs to be smaller," she told her team. "Small enough to fit on a fighter craft. And we need to increase its range." Back on Earth, Lieutenant Da Yun presented his latest findings to the United Earth Council. "The Scourge is changing its approach," he explained, pointing to a star map. "Before, they moved in a straight line through the galaxy. Now they're avoiding heavily defended systems and targeting weaker ones." "That's good, isn't it?" asked Minister Lee. "It means they fear us." "It means they're getting smarter," Da corrected. "They're being strategic now, cutting off isolated worlds, surrounding others. And look at this." He zoomed in on an image of a Scourge ship. This was captured by a scout drone last week. "See these weapons?" The council members leaned forward. The Scourge ship had what looked like human missile launchers attached to its hull. "They're not just adapting anymore," Da said quietly. "They're copying our technology directly and improving it." Minister Lee's face was grim. "How long until they attack again?" "Based on their movement patterns, I'd say we have 2 months, maybe 3, before they hit another major system." Da hesitated. "And sir, I believe their next target will be much bigger than Tarsus." 3 months after the Battle of Tarsus, on the bridge of his newly repaired ship, Jun received an urgent message from Coalition headquarters. "Massive Scourge fleet detected moving toward the Myriad system." The message read, "Estimated time of arrival: 6 days. All available ships ordered to defend." Jun felt his blood run cold. Myriad was the oldest and most populated system in the Coalition, home to over 12 billion people and a major hub connecting 37 inhabited worlds. If it fell, the Coalition would be split in 2. He opened a channel to Earth. "This is Fleet Commander Kim to United Earth Command. We need every ship you can spare. The Void Scourge is targeting Myriad. If it falls, we all fall." As he waited for a response, Jun looked at the star map. The Scourge fleet moving toward Myriad was 3 times larger than the one they had faced at Tarsus. This would be the real test. "All hands," he announced to his crew. "Prepare for immediate departure to the Myriad system. We're about to face the biggest battle of our lives." Around him, his crew moved with quiet determination. They had become the shield standing between the darkness and all the living worlds of the galaxy, and now that shield would face its greatest test. 6 days after the warning, the largest fleet ever assembled in Coalition history gathered at the Myriad system. Over 300 ships formed a protective ring around the system's 5 inhabited planets, but there was a problem. Earth had not sent its full fleet. On the bridge of the UES Dauntless, Jun received a transmission from Earth. Minister Lee's face appeared on the screen. "I'm sorry, Commander Kim," the minister said. "The Council voted to keep half our fleet in the Sol system. They fear Earth might be the real target, and Myriad is just a distraction." Jun struggled to keep his voice calm. "Minister, Lieutenant Yoon's analysis is clear. The Scourge is targeting Myriad because it's the hub connecting all coalition worlds. If it falls, we lose everything." "We understand the risk," Lee replied. "But our first duty is to protect Earth. We've sent 80 ships. That's all we can spare." After the transmission ended, Jun stared at the star map in silence. 80 human ships plus the alien vessels gave them about 300 total. Intelligence reports said the Scourge was bringing over 500. "We're outnumbered," Dae said quietly from his station. "Yes," Jun agreed, "but not beaten. Send a message to Admiral Park. I need to speak with her immediately." On Earth, the debate continued in the council chambers. Most members supported the decision to keep half the fleet at home, but one voice spoke against it. Captain Min Sung had survived 3 battles against the Scourge. His face was scared from a bridge explosion, and he walked with a limp. He stood before the council, his voice strong despite his injuries. "I've fought alongside the Avrillians, the Tulsari, and a dozen other species," he said. "They've blood to protect human worlds too. I watched an Avrillian ship take a hit meant for my vessel at Tarsus. All hands were lost." He looked each council member in the eye. "If we abandon them now, we deserve what comes next. The Scourge doesn't care about our borders or our species. It will consume everything eventually." Minister Lee frowned. "What would you have us do, Captain? Leave Earth defenseless?" "No, sir. I'm asking you to trust the analysis. Lieutenant Yoon has never been wrong about Scourge movements. If he says Myriad is the target, then that's where we should focus our defense." The council called for another vote. This time, Earth committed its entire available fleet, over 200 ships, to the defense of Myriad. "Get this message to Fleet Commander Kim," Minister Lee ordered. "All ships are coming. Hold the line until we arrive." In the Myriad system, final preparations were underway. Commander Jin Kang had arrived with her team and the completed disruption device. "It will break their hive mind connection for approximately 5 minutes," she explained to Jun and Admiral Park as they examined the small black cylinder. "But it has to be delivered directly to their command ship," almost touching it. "How do we identify the command ship?" Jun asked. "It will be the largest," Jin said. "And based on previous encounters, it stays at the center of their formation, protected by the others." Admiral Park nodded. "So we need to punch through their entire fleet to deliver this, and whoever takes it won't be coming back." No one spoke for a moment. Then Park straightened her shoulders. "I'll take it myself." "Admiral," Jun began to protest. "This is not open for discussion, Commander," Park said firmly. "I'm the highest-ranking officer here. It's my responsibility." Before Jun could argue further, alarms sounded throughout the fleet. The Scourge had arrived. The battle that followed would later be known as the Stand at Myriad. When the Scourge fleet appeared at the edge of the system, even the most experienced officers felt a moment of fear. There were over 500 enemy vessels, and the largest was nearly twice the size of any they had seen before. The human fleet, led by Admiral Park aboard the supercarrier UES Seojin, formed the center of the coalition's defense line. "All ships, battle formations," Park ordered. "Remember your training. Be unpredictable. Don't fall into patterns the Scourge can learn from." For the first hour, the coalition forces held their own. Their new tactics worked well, confusing the Scourge ships. But there were just too many of them. Slowly, the enemy began to push through the defensive line. On the Dauntless, Jun watched as one coalition ship after another winked out on his tactical display. "We're losing," Day said, his voice tight. "Their numbers are overwhelming us." Jun opened a channel to Admiral Park. "Admiral, we need to use the disruption device now, while we still have enough ships to make a difference." Park's face appeared on his screen. She looked tired but determined. "Agreed. I'm forming the strike team now. 7 ships. We'll punch through their right flank and make for the command ship." "Good luck, Admiral," Jun said. Park gave him a small smile. "If this works, Commander, you'll be in charge of the fleet. Don't waste the advantage we give you." Before Jun could respond, she cut the transmission. On his tactical display, he watched as the Admiral's strike team broke away from the main fleet and accelerated toward the Scourge formation. Admiral Hannah Park stood on the bridge of the Seojin, the disruption device secured beside her command chair. The black cylinder hummed softly. "All strike team vessels, full speed," she ordered. "Focus fire on any ship that blocks our path to the command vessel." The 7 human ships surged forward, their engines burning hot. The Scourge reacted immediately, dozens of enemy vessels moving to intercept them. The strike team fired everything they had, creating a momentary gap in the Scourge line. They shot through, but at a cost. 2 ships were destroyed immediately. "Keep going," Park shouted as her ship shuddered under enemy fire. "We need to reach the command ship." Another strike team vessel exploded, then another. The Seojin's shields failed as they pushed deeper into enemy territory. "Hull breach on decks 4 through 7, reported her tactical officer. "Engines at 60%. Through the view screen, Park could see the massive Scourge command ship. It was black and spiky, like all Scourge vessels, but enormous. And they were still too far away. "Divert all power to engines," she ordered. "We need to get closer." The Seojin lurched forward, trailing debris and atmosphere. Of the 7 ships in the strike team, only the Admiral's vessel and 1 other remained. And then the last escort exploded under concentrated enemy fire. The Seojin was alone, surrounded by Scourge ships, its hull breaking apart. "We're not going to make it, are we?" asked her helmsman, a young officer named Jai. Park looked at the command ship, still too far away for the disruption device to work. "No," she admitted, "but we'll get as close as we can." She opened a channel to the entire coalition fleet. "This is Admiral Park. The strike has failed. We can't reach the target. I'm sorry." On the Dauntless, Jun heard her words with a sinking heart. Without the disruption device, they couldn't win. There were too many Scourge ships, and they were adapting too quickly. Then he heard Park's voice again, strong and clear despite the static. "Commander Kim, I'm going to ram the command ship. The explosion might be enough to trigger the device. Be ready." Jun watched in horror as the damaged Seojin changed course, aiming directly for the massive Scourge vessel. With its remaining engine power, it accelerated to full speed. "All ships," Park transmitted, her voice calm despite everything. "Prepare to attack the moment the disruption hits." And Commander Kim, "Yes, Admiral," Jun asked, his throat tight. "For Earth and all free worlds," Park said. The transmission cut off as the Seojin collided with the Scourge command ship. The explosion was massive, a ball of fire that engulfed both vessels. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, across the battlefield, the Scourge ships began to move erratically. "The disruption is working," Dai shouted. "They've lost their hive mind connection." Jun snapped into action. "All coalition vessels, full attack. Hit them while they're confused." The coalition fleet surged forward, firing everything they had at the now disorganized Scourge ships. Without their coordinated defense, the enemy vessels fell one after another. 5 minutes later, the Scourge ships began to regain coordination. But by then, it was too late. The coalition forces had destroyed nearly half their fleet, and the remaining Earth ships arrived from Sol system, hitting the enemy from behind. The battle raged for hours more, but the outcome was no longer in doubt. By the end, the once mighty Scourge fleet was reduced to floating debris. The Coalition had won, but the victory came at a terrible cost. Nearly a third of the Coalition ships were destroyed. Thousands of lives, human and alien, were lost, and Admiral Hannah Park, the hero of the battle, was gone. 3 weeks after the Battle of Murad, representatives from all Coalition species gathered on the Avrillian homeworld. There they erected a monument, a statue of a human ship breaking through a wave of darkness, with the inscription in multiple languages. On this day, humanity's fleet became the shield of all worlds. We remember their sacrifice. Fleet Commander Jun Kim, now promoted to Admiral, stood before the monument. His uniform still bore the scorch marks from the battle. Beside him, Thal spoke quietly. Your Admiral once asked why humans should die for alien worlds. Now we understand what she already knew. And what was that? Jun asked. That in defending others, humanity found its greatest purpose among the stars. Jun looked up at the statue, thinking of Park and all the others who had given their lives. Then he looked out at the assembled aliens and humans, standing together in peace because of that sacrifice. The Scourge will return, he said. They always do. But next time, we'll be ready. All of us together. Around him, human and alien alike nodded in agreement. The shield of worlds would stand firm, now and forever.